Hello, Luminary.
Excuse me. Please pardon me, luminaries. Once again I am Lectio. Please join me as we browse Reddit. This post is brought to us by the Thin Green Giant. Skip to the bottom for the TLDR if you don't want to read about my arduous trip through customer service hell. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided that we should both get on the same phone plan. We went down to the AT&T store and met with a rep who told us we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70 per month all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later I log into the website and see that there's already a bill for $139. I call up a rep to see what's up, and they tell me that between the activation fees, taxes and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me and they basically told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service but could not and or would not waive the bill. They also told me if I canceled immediately my wife and I would lose our phone numbers, which is true. So, I figure since I already have to pay for the month, and I don't want to lose my phone number, I will just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So, I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back to AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and want to cancel the service. I again ask for a refund. The rep informs me that since I have had the service for 4 days that I am not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel for a full refund. I'm now fuming because the first CSR that I talked to on date 2 denied me a refund if I canceled. I ask for the next level of CSR and they send me to a customer care and retention person. I explain the entire fiasco to him, and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, sales rep and first CSR. He is a really cool guy and apologizes and says he'll take care of it and will completely waive the bill. I am very thankful and hang up thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month and I get an AT&T bill in the mail saying my payment was not received and is now late. I again pick up the phone and call AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 CSR reps until I get back to the customer care and retention department. This time I did not have the chill dude, instead, I got a very smarmy woman who said that the bill was due and I'd owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and that the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by, no response. I call again. This time I get a very nice lady that is sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything because the bill has already been sent to collections. She said not to worry and that she'll send a letter to collections to have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report and she says no, and that they'll take care of it. 6 months later I get a letter in the mail from Sequium Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect on the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified mail demanding that they verify the debt, since it's obviously bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in and, sure enough, Sequium has indicated that the amount is in collections. I immediately write letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark, thank God. Another 3 months go by and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in NY again trying to collect on the debt. This is truly unbelievable because it appears that Sequium couldn't verify it, so instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I send another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far, they have not attempted to put a mark on my credit. That's where this part of the story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing, I am not cash-strapped. I am blessed enough that I could easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I have lost 5 times that amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters. But I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town, and when I was going over our monthly expenses I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000 a month for our phones, internet, and TV services. We're a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns and that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and IT director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers that we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks ago, the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money, getting better service, and with the money we saved from switching we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I didn't make such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds of thousands over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it. AT&T. TLDR, AT&T lied to me 3+ times, put false marks on my credit, and made me spend countless hours on the phone and sending letters to fix it. I am a city councilman and found out we could save 50% by switching all of our services from AT&T, which saved our city thousands and cost AT&T a $72,000 a year contract. This story is brought to us by Fantasy Crochet. TLDR at the bottom just in case this does become longer than I anticipated. First, the child support. So, I was with my ex-husband for about 10 years. When I first met him, he knocked up his previous girlfriend before meeting me, basically kind of ghosted her. Now reflecting back on what happened, convinced me it was her keeping him away from his kid and that he was just the poor victim in all of it. She had taken him to court, got child support for $324 a month for a while, then tried to take him back to get it increased cause she thought he was working and making more, but it backfired and it got reduced to $112 a month. It stayed like that for about 6 to 7 years and he actually got behind a couple of times just paying this because he'd lose a job here or there. One of the many ways he convinced me to move out of my home state to his, there's more jobs in his home state and cost of living is cheaper. Come 2018, I decided to leave him because he wasn't putting in the effort to find a job that would support both of us while I went to nursing school. I had been working the same full-time federal government job and doing school part-time, our entire relationship supporting us, while he went to school for medical billing and coding and didn't do anything with it once he was done. His excuse, they're outsourcing these jobs to India. He bounced from one job to another for one reason or another. Once it came time for me to actually finally apply to a nursing program, I told him he needed to finally step up. He told me he would but never said what he was doing. He would come home from work and complain about the work and the people he worked with. He was eventually fired from that job because his boss said he worked way too slow and he was delaying orders going out for the company. We also had a bit of a dead bedroom, so that also pushed me to want to leave him. I finally decided to leave and the ex moved in an ex-roommate a couple months later. She had lived with us previously because she found out her first husband had cheated on her. We had decided to help her get on her feet and she met her second husband, then moved out. Why is this important? Because 4 months after I left, I found emails with nudes of this ex-roommate that my ex was forwarding to a secret email account I had no clue about. They had been a lot more friendly than I had realized for over 4+ years. The ex-roommate who was currently living in our marital home was separate from her second husband because my ex didn't like him in the house. Granted, I didn't like him either cause he was a sleazebag who was also cheating on her, but I digress. My ex even got friendly with his ex-wife. I was wife number 2, and a third person I didn't recognize. Then found out my ex knocked up the roommate 2 months after being official. I didn't get to confront my ex or her with this other than me writing an email and attaching the photos I now had. I had to do something else. So, I reached out to my ex's girlfriend who he has his first child with. He's made no effort to be in his kid's life, a source of fights for us here and there, and I tried a few times over the years of reaching out to her and establishing a relationship between them. My mom has a bigger relationship with a kid she has no relation to than my piece of crap ex. I told her I left him, that he was making way more money at his job and she should file to have it looked at. She did and got it increased to $264 a month. Now for the repo of the car. After I left, he decided to buy a brand new Chevy Equinox for over $32,000. I have access to his Credit Karma account, so that's how I know. He works commission-based sales, selling furniture, TVs and appliances. He doesn't bring home much. He actually opened a credit card through his work, bought $5,000 worth of stuff to furnish the house, then let it go to collections. He used my contact info and they called me trying to collect on it. The payments on the new car was about $634 a month. He made 2 payments then stopped. Now we had bought a house together before I left and he finally agreed to sell our marital home after getting behind on the payments and not doing what he needed to keep it. We had over 60% equity in the house. He decided to use his half of the sale to buy a smaller house outright instead of paying off his debt. His logic has always been, if I don't have a house payment the other bills are affordable. Part of the reasoning he used to bully me into buying our previous house. Either way, I found out his new address, called the company that originated the loan and updated them with his current information. So hopefully they'll be picking up their car any day now. TLDR, left ex-husband, found out he cheated on me with an ex-roommate for years, contacted his baby mama to have her child support reevaluated and had his payment doubled, then reached out to his car loan company and updated his home address so they can repo the car he defaulted on. This was posted by Mike Rue. TLDR at the end. I don't have a problem helping classmates. I really don't. I even tutored several classmates during my final semester of undergrad because they needed the help. They all ended up passing their classes with my assistance. This story comes from a particularly tough business information systems class during my undergraduate education. The students in this class were mostly non-technical business majors, so this new material wasn't at all similar to anything we'd learned in other classes. Needless to say, most of the students were struggling, including me. I still had a 4.0 in college at this point, though I finished with a 3.99, and I was willing to put in max effort to keep my stellar GPA. I started studying hard. I made my own Quizlet sets, I read the book every night, I finished assignments a week early, and I did outside research. After grinding it out in this class for about a month, I was working on an assignment in a room designated for quiet homework time, and that's where our story begins. Several other students from my class were there and working on the same assignment I was on. Judging by the size of exasperation, the irritated whispers, and requests for help, they weren't having much success. Having studied relentlessly for a month, I was having an easier time of it. As I got up to go get some water from the fountain in the hall, a classmate asked for my help. I told him I could do that and I'd be right back. I returned a few minutes later to find what I can only describe as a bunch of busy bees happily working away. This was strange since they were hopelessly stuck 2 minutes before, but whatever. My classmate tells me he figured it out without me. Now, I'm not an idiot, so I know the 5 people in this room probably copied my work off my computer when I went to get water. Scumbag move number 1. But as it turns out, no one in the class needed help the next day or the day after. Whoever in the study room had stolen my work had forwarded it to most of the class. Scumbag move number 2. I don't mind being helpful, but I hate being used, so I made a plan to get back at the people who had stolen my work. It didn't take long to organize my plan and carry it out. Here's how it went. I changed an answer on the next assignment by multiplying by -1. $1,500 became -$1,500 on this question. The next week, I left my computer in the same place as before and went to get water, just like I had done the week before. 75% of the people in my class of 40 people put -$1,500 as the answer to question 3, which was definitely incorrect. I began studying relentlessly for the midterm. Our professor had said he wouldn't adjust the weight of the test, something like your score /50 on a test with 60 points available, so your score of 40 becomes 80% instead of 67%, if anyone scored particularly well. This class was difficult and no one was expecting anyone to score over 75%, so all my classmates figured the weight of the test would be adjusted. My plan was to wreck the curve, even though it's not a curve, and deny everyone the adjusted weight by producing a sufficiently high score. I recruited a classmate who hadn't stolen my work to study with. Together, we aimed to score high enough that our professor couldn't adjust the weight of the midterm. Here's how it all played out. No one who copied me realized the answer was incorrect. Every last one of those idiots submitted the wrong answer to question 3. This next part surprised me, but my classmates began insisting the class was unfair, too difficult, or rigged, and launched these complaints at our professor. One day after class I had the following exchange since I was the last student out of the classroom. Professor, Mike Rue, do you think this class is too hard? Me, honestly, this class is hard. But if people spent as much time studying as they did complaining, they'd be fine. They really need to just get to work. Professor, I thought the same. Me, deciding spur of the moment my next move. I also happen to know that most of the class incorrectly copied my work on the last assignment. Question 3 should be a net income of $1,500, not a net loss of $1,500. I put down the wrong answer initially, everyone copied me, and then I changed the answer later. I think you can reasonably conclude that anyone with -$1,500 as the answer cheated off of my incorrect work. Professor, I figured they all copied, but I didn't know you were the source. Anyway, thanks for your candor and your dedication to the class. I didn't cheat, so I don't know what happened to those who did, but depending on the class, They would either get a 0 for the assignment or a plagiarism citation, so they got one of those. Fast forward to test day, and I'm ready to go. I know since most of the students are business majors, they need 70% to pass the class because it's a required course. Hurting them on the midterm will go a long way in helping drop their grades. I take the test, I'm the first one done, and I leave pretty sure I've done enough to deny the class the exam weight adjustment. A week later, we get our exams back. Tests are distributed all around me with scores on the top in red ink. 68, 71, 70, 66, 75, 67, and these are the smart students. Someone on the end of my row takes a test from our professor and lets out a sigh as he begins passing a test down my row. It stops on my desk. 93%. I've won. Some idiot in the front of the class. So, is there going to be a curve? Professor. Nope. Me. What was the high score? Professor. 93%. Average score for the exam was 71, so a good number of people didn't get a passing score. Maybe they made up for it on the final and passed, but I don't care. I got mine. TLDR, people steal my homework, so I bait them into giving a wrong answer, tip the professor off on their cheating, and score high enough on the midterm to deny anyone a chance for an adjusted score. Thank you for listening, luminaries. Kindly like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Lastly, please indulge me by pondering this. Be careful when deciding someone is your enemy, an enemy made is a friend forfeited. Until next time, luminaries.